Hey, Max.
Hey, Max. Hey, Dan.
Hey, how's it going?
And I have no idea who's doing what because I have so many GitHub notifications.
Can you hear me?
I can't. Yeah. Yes, we can hear you.
I can hear you, Max.
So yeah, just to say this is live. Anyhow, Dan, as I wanted to say, I really have no idea who's doing what because there is so many things to review on GitHub that I finish 2 or 3 a day, and then next day there is 10 more. So it's just growing and growing. It's really crazy. So yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, I was gonna have a suggestion, that maybe at least if you did the contribution game again in the future, maybe one of the rules would be that the pull request should be tied to an issue, so that it's not just huge, because we've got like quite a lot of issues that are quite a lot of pull requests that are just sort of refactoring stuff that are not really, adding a feature or fixing anything. So maybe that would help if we ran the game again in the future.
I agree. I think refactoring should be put to. Well, but we didn't specify this, so now we leave with that. Yeah, but in the future, we'll pay attention to that. But I quite like these refactorings. Not all of them, some of them, because as you are working, the code just rot and gets corrupted and go in every different, strange, unique directions, and it's sometimes it's good if there is someone who fix up the comments.
I just think, like a lot of the things like the invert if statements, like how do we verify that on one of them somewhere we didn't make like a very subtle mistake? That's quite hard to review, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, it is. It's hard to do, and I'm not even sure that's a good thing from a code readability point of view. Oh, hi. Yeah, how can we pronounce your name?
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
My name is Yahya.
Yahya, okay.
Where are you from, Yahya?
I come from Algeria.
Oh, okay, nice. And we also have Daniel here. Is that?
Yeah, hey, Daniel.
Hey, guys. I came to listen.
Welcome.
You are one of the pull requests, Ben Ser Karman. Is that you?
No, I'm Dan Gould. I was working on Tumblebit with Stratus in the past, and now I'm interested in the UI in particular of Wasabi. I think it's difficult to put it into Xamarin, but I think it's actually possible.
Well, okay. So first of all, yeah, long time no speak. It was nice to see you here. But why would you do that? Let's start with this topic. So you want to put Wasabi into Xamarin? Why?
So looking at the primary UI issue, a lot of the problems stem from like non-standard behavior, especially on Mac platform, and it seems like Xamarin solves a lot of those problems out of the box because it's built to run cross-platform. It's had a longer life than Xamarin, and as far as creating new issues, there's more community around. Sorry, not new issues, new features. There's more community around a standard practice for doing so, and then lastly, you can put it on mobile, which is something I'm just interested in, but not a necessity.
Okay, so I let Dan reflect on that, but before that, I just want to say that, yeah, it's so late in the project that systemic rewrite of the UI is just not even out of consideration, you know. But feel free to do whatever you want, you know. It's open source. So go ahead, Dan.
Thanks.
Oh, go ahead, because Dan is one of the maintainer of Avalonia, so be careful of what you're talking about.
Okay.
No worries, no worries. I mean, I fully understand your concerns, and actually, it might be nice also, like maybe you might be interested in helping fix some of those issues that are difficult on Mac. And Avalonia kind of has experimental support for iOS and Android out the box, and you know, it probably wouldn't take much work for somebody to fix up those backends and just get it to run on iOS or Android pretty quickly, you know. If but yeah, but I know Xamarin Informs is also a good platform. But yeah. But
As far as practicality, Tor is definitely the biggest issue that I see running on iOS in particular and Android.
Were you testing it on Mac? Did you say quite a lot and having some difficulty?
Yeah.
What kind of issues were you coming across then?
So the concept of quitting doesn't work in particular, and also I'm not sure what you call this, but the taskbar that would typically go on top stays part of the window rather than integrate with the system.
Yeah, both of those issues are actually the same problem. And
okay.
I'm currently working to get that fixed in the next release of Avalonia, so it will have the quit menu integrated with iOS and have the file menus. So
that's the primary one. It's pretty minor.
Yeah. It's but for a Mac user, it's what you expect, right? So if it doesn't have that, it doesn't look right and it doesn't sit right in OS X. So yeah, it is one of the that's one of the main contributions to Avalonia that I'm gonna. Well, it's halfway done now anyway. It just needs finishing off. So
the other issue I didn't mention is that it's unsigned, so you have to know how to open the program. It won't let you open it unless you right click and then scroll to open. So for a typical user that's not familiar with that or not capable of doing a proper Google search, they just won't be able to open it. I've had 2 people who I've introduced the software to run it on Macs and be very confused as to why their system won't let them open, which I think is a signing issue.
Yes, let me reflect on that, because that has nothing to do with Avalonia. So the main thing is that we are building the releases not in the cloud, but on Windows and on Linux, because they work nicely together, but Apple doesn't to work together with other operating systems. So the problem is that we succeeded to fix everything to implement everything on Windows and Linux in order to roll out releases on to Mac, but only one thing that we couldn't find an open source alternative, which is the Apple's sign tool, which means if you don't sign the software with Apple's sign tool, then the OS X gatekeeper is going to complain. So what we have to do for that, and we are planning it, it's just not there yet, is that we have to incorporate some kind of Mac into our release process. Either build the whole thing on Mac, or just make sure the sign tool, or just run the sign tool through the. We have to do this in a secure way. Probably there are ways. It just it just works. So it's not an architectural issue or something like that. Just you have to make it work. Yeah, that's the issue there.
Roger.
So since we're talking about the UI, Avalonia, then I want to bring up an issue that, then we have never used the save file dialog and the browse file dialog before, but now we are using with CodeCard. And well, we have seen that it has issues with some Linuxes, but it was throwing us very nice exceptions, which we catch an exception and then we fire up a fallback screen where the user can able to type the URL. So that's nice. But then now I'm not sure you have seen, but they are reporting that in some Linuxes it crashes. So it crashes like without an exception. So the fallback thing doesn't come up. Have you seen those issues? Those are people reporting or not yet?
The file dialogues on Linux require, or they rely on GTK. So, and on some distributions of Linux, the GTK is like slightly patched or not compatible. So Avalonia also have loads of issues open for this as well. One of the things that I think Nikita has actually implemented, or at least it's partially implemented, is like an Avalonia's own implementation of a file dialog. That would solve the issue, because you wouldn't rely on anything on the system. It would just be built into Avalonia. But it depends on how far developed that is, or how it's obviously nicer to have the native ones, but I think Linux doesn't actually have a native file dialog, right? Or maybe Lucas knows. I think the GTK ones are GTK's own file dialogs.
Maybe as a quick aside, I could not reproduce that error. For me, it works perfectly. Well, at least on Debian 9. I did not check on Debian 10. And it worked for me both before the release and as soon as these first issues came up. So apparently it's not something that is for all Debian. Well, I mean, there was one guy opening an issue on Debian 9.9. And for me, it worked on Debian 9.9. So I have no clue.
So I guess the clean way to do this, because Avalonia is not about relying on OS components to implement our own, which we actually implemented, of course, but it's just a fallback dialog and people have to type the path by themselves. Anyhow, I think it's a really nice work, but it's just not about Wasabi. Because it takes quite a time to implement your own file dialog. I'm not sure we should do that anytime soon, but we should do that in the future. Then maybe what would be really nice, if the error comes from the GTK, then Avalonia throws an actual exception.
Yeah.
The whole software crashes, and then our fallback dialog can take the place. So that would be good. Yeah. Okay. Any more comment on this? All right. Let's go into Yahya thing. This is the other thing that we wanted to talk about, is that now practices how to write a code. Should we nest or shouldn't, or we shouldn't nest? So is there anyone not familiar with this issue? Should I explain it, or?
Are you talking about nesting of conditionals?
Yes, nesting of conditionals. So the thing is that there is a lot of pull requests and quite a lot of code change, and it's quite hard to review. And we are not really married to the idea of if we should return as soon as possible from a function, or try to nest the code as much as possible. So That's the issue, and I believe this should be organic, and because what really matters here is how the developer thinks when he's writing the code. So if you can follow that logic, then you can read the code better. That's my thing. Now, question is that does this kind of nesting the code have some performance? Now, for most of the time it doesn't, because those functions doesn't get called that much. Now, when there is a function, when it would have performance increase, the question is, does the compiler optimizes it out or not? This is how I think about it. I would like to hear Lucas's opinion, for example.
Okay. Well, I was reviewing the pull requests, and they are different in the sense that some pull requests change the if statements and improve the code, because in a couple of those PRs the result is good. I mean, I can read the code better and understand the code better. So I think those PR are good. But I don't think the question is nest ifs or not. I think is that change or that transformation of that nesting improving the code, improving the readability of the code, yes or no? In most of the cases, I think they are not. Yes, in most of the cases, except those that I approve, I think the rest are not improving the code. It's just changing a true condition by a false condition, and then changing the order of the block. Yes, what was in the else, now it is in the if, and what was in the if now is in the else. And I understand that sometimes it is better to first address the true condition. I mean, ask for something that is true, and if that is true, yes, that should be in the if, and the false in the else. So in many cases, I understand the idea, but I think those changes are not improving anything. Yes, in a couple of them, yes, it is better, but in the rest, I think it doesn't work.
All right. So Lucas's opinion is that we should think about these pull requests individually instead of systematically. Okay. Yahya, do you want to say something, make your case?
Well, I think I agree with most of what Lucas said, because most of those PRs do not like have any performance improvement. Simply, I changed those because I think, for example, in my opinion, it's easier to read something when it's like if condition is true, not, for example, when you say if not condition is true. And that's why I like try to invert most of those, like this kind of code. But like Lucas said, some of those PRs have like some improvements, because I like find that we check for example, one condition 2 times, like without necessity. So in my opinion, also, if those PRs like they like there is some of them like have some indentation, and if, for example, I believe, yes, that maybe they like they don't add any value to the project. But yeah, this is what I think.
All right, thank you. Last is Dan. Before Dan, I want to say that David is not here because he's he's meditating in a yoga camp with a lot of hot women. So,
you mean he does not have his priorities right? What's up with him?
yeah, exactly.
Boycotting the death call? That is unacceptable.
Mental
I
health.
think we don't
what
have
a
our
bullshit.
priorities right.
Yeah. So, but David really. So I was doing what Yahia was doing back then. I was never inverting, but when I was pair coding with David, he's always reducing the nesting, and I kind of see that in many situations why that's better. But anyhow, so David's opinion is that we should try to reduce the nest actually. So that's the other extent. And the last person's opinion I want to know is Dan.
Hey, yeah. So, I mean, I'm probably on David's side of the camp. Then, I like to reduce nesting as much as possible. And another thing that I like to do is try to, if possible, only have one return point of a function. So it's like,
that's the different thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the exact opposite of what you just said. If you want to have as little return in a function, that means you want to increase the nesting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I did just contradict myself. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I think go with as little nesting as possible. I know a lot of the Avalonia functions, they have like at the beginning of the function, they check like all the parameters or assert the parameters and just return or throw an exception at the beginning, and then it gets on with the function. But yeah, certainly if you've got an if inside an if inside an if, it starts to become not sensible. Maybe two ifs within each other is okay, but once you get to like 3 or 4, it's starting to get unreadable.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, then let's do what Lucas said, that we are judging those pull requests individual basis. Is that everyone's happy with that?
Yes, I think that's the way to go.
All right. However, one thing, which actually the next topic, is that since the contribution game, there are so many pull requests that I review 4 or 5 one day, and there is 10 or 15 is added that day. So the thing is, the pull requests are coming faster than I can review them. So my point is, with the previous discussion, that I think I'm going to consider these pull requests as low priority reviews for now. Yeah, that's it.
Maybe consider any pull request that's linked to resolving an issue or a feature to be higher priority, perhaps.
Well, that's why I'm not doing that, is because what Yahia is doing, he's making pull requests. Those are very easy to review usually, and so I just look at it. Oh yeah, this is obviously good, and I just merge it. It takes me 2 or 3 minutes to judge. But these ifs pull requests, these are, GitHub is showing a lot of code change, so it just you have to make sure not a single character is not no no offense, but we don't know you, so it's a great way to put something funky into the code base. You have to be very, very careful about what's going on.
Yeah, good points that you bring up here, Adam. And I try to, at least for these small pull requests that, for example, just change the capitalization, I went through all the changes in the code and then always like wrote what exactly is being changed. So for these small pull requests, I could assist with review and at least make it somewhat easier for you. But of course, the final decision is always like with you as the maintainer. So for these pull requests that like a noob like I can review, how would you like me to proceed with that? How can I make this work of these, let's say, trivial pull requests, the review process, easier for you to then check it and merge?
I think you are doing great what you're doing right now, because you are testing what people are doing, and a lot of people just look at the code but don't test. I usually do both, but yeah, so testing is important. That, hey, does it really do what it says it does? Does it actually changes something where it shouldn't change, or does it highlight other bug software that we had for a very long time, but it was just so small, but this new pull request just highlights it, that, hey, this is a huge bug here, you know? So I think what you're doing right now is pretty good. I like it. So yeah, what you don't consider is the UI clutter. I always have to be the bad guy here when, oh man, this complicates the UI, and does it worth it, you know?
But you know, actually, in one of these issues, I was saying that this will clutter UI. So I'm learning. I'm learning. Well, and maybe then in somewhat of a similar context for the contribution game, what do you think of having, let's say, more of a defined list of bounties that like specify, okay, these are the priority issues, and if you fix them, you get let's say 0.1 Bitcoin or something, or 5% of the total bounty for this month. Do you think that having more of a, let's say, guided bounty will help in the sense of more focused development?
I'm personally not a fan of them, because usually the issue is controversial, and now if you fix a great issue, a great importance issue, in a way that is controversial, or let's just say I don't like, then there is this issue that should we pay the bounty, or should we fix up the code? And you know what I mean? It just brings more problems. So right now what we are doing is not perfect, but the rules are very clear. So we can, if there is a bug, someone fixes it. I don't like the fix. Now what? Should we pay out the bounty for the bug or not? Because he technically fixed it, you know? So I like to avoid that. Okay. I only have one last topic left, is that Nicolas Dorier's pull requests. So they are huge.
Yes, the one that he improved the configuration, the how to deal with the configuration using the JSON, one of the JSON capabilities that I don't remember. Well, the good part is that I was testing that change. I tested a couple of times and it was working. So, but now it has been split it in multiple smaller pull requests, so we need to test that again.
Yeah, I think this is better, because then we can find the specific issues. And what I really don't like about these monster pull requests is not just the reviews. It just that now he starts to use this concept instead of a concept that's everywhere else used in the code. Even if I agree that, hey, this concept is great what you did, but we have to apply it to everywhere else related in the code. That would be my thing. But yeah, I'm kind of struggled with his pull requests.
Okay, do you mean apply the same pattern in all the config files, in the UI config files, in the config? Okay, yes, I think you're right.
Yeah, because that's good code. Just I guess I remember, Lucas, you were changing you were adding new configuration before, and yeah, I understand his problem that whenever I add the new configuration option, then I have to go through and put those things into 5 different places in the config file. It just grow out of itself. Yeah.
Yes, it doesn't scale. Every time you have to add a new configuration parameter, you have to add a lot of code, and it is not scaling very well. But I mean, I like the Nicholas pull request, and the concept is correct to me. So.
All right. That's about all I wanted to talk about. Now let's go one by one. Who wants to start bringing up issues or questions?
Are we out of feature freeze now, or?
Yes, we did not. So the thing is that I think we still have some spent issues, which is just the most terrible thing a wallet can do, showing incorrect wallet state. So until those, and I don't know why, but until those are fixed, I just don't want to. The other thing is that before the release, now we went through all the pull requests that happened since the last release, and we tested them, and we found some really bad things, some really some bugs that we had to fix before the release. For example, the receive expander freeze the wallet on OSX. That was actually my bug. But Lucas, you said, hey, it's a very elegant solution. And yes, it was elegant, but it still froze the wallet on OSX. So it's like, stupid RX reactive UI. Yeah, the thing is that every single property that you have in your view models have to be modified on the UI thread, even if it's just a backing property, because that was exactly, it was just a backing property that we subscribe to the change of that backing property that we modified in the thread pool, and on the UI thread, somehow on OSX it freezed, even if it was just a backing property, and we modified the binded property on the UI thread. So there shouldn't be any issue, but there was. So
I think the issue there was that it was effectively creating a very tight, hard loop. On Windows, it was probably able to deal with it, but it would have had very high CPU usage. But I think on OS X, it would have just fallen over because threads work slightly differently,
I mean, the pull request was about, we added the backing property and we set that backing property so the computation was running on the thread pool, not on the UI thread. Okay, it was running on the thread pool, set the backing property on the thread pool, and we were subscribing to the changes of the backing property, and we set the actually binded property to the XAML binded property. We set it on the UI thread. Now it was perfect on Windows, and on OS X it froze, and the solution was, I'm not quite sure what, but we had to get rid of that backing property because you just can't modify. It looks like any property on the thread pool, even if it's not binded to the XAML, because there are cross-platform issues. So just keep in mind. what were we talking about? Sorry.
I mentioned, asked if we were in feature freeze still or not, but
Yes,
we said we still are in, and then we started talking about this issue.
yes. So because we still have issues and the development process is not safe enough yet, I want to veto the feature. I want to keep veto to stay in the feature freeze for now.
Adam, are these particular issues that are holding us in feature freeze, are they labeled or are they mentioned in the feature freeze issue so that I can see which ones they are?
No, I don't think we were talking about that there. We were fixing them as we go, as we found them. Actually, even what Lucas did, you remember you added Bitcoin Core configurations to the settings, and that ruined the Onion endpoint validation. that was actually something that David told me that, hey, shouldn't we test this? I'm like, no, this is working. I tested a long time ago. This is working. I didn't even think about it. Yeah, so that's completely on me. I didn't think about that ruins the Onion endpoint validation, but of course it does.
Maybe we're getting to the point where we should be starting to write unit tests for the view models.
So one of the pull requests, which I didn't get there to review yet, is that Nicolas Dorier started to write unit tests to the view models. I think you should look at while it's in early phase, so to make sure he's using the right patterns and but because if we end up merging that and end up stacking with a bad pattern, that's gonna be a disaster, I think.
I had a little look at that. I need to spend some more time to fully understand it. But Lucas, did you also see that pull request?
Yes, and I think it's not for writing unit tests on the view models, but for creating big and complex integration tests where more than one Wasabi wallet sends money and receives money from different other instances. That's what I saw.
Yeah, because I was looking at it, and normally you would get a view model if possible where it can stand on its own and be tested on its own without needing any dependencies, you know, or you at least if it has dependencies, you would inject like a stub of a dependency that allows you to test it. But maybe I need to have a look at that PR in more detail to fully understand what it's doing.
No. I get it. I think that's the idea. The problem is, well, now we have the global instance in a. I mean, we don't have a hard reference to the global instance, so we can mock that, and we can write unit tests for view models, but we have never do it before. But yes, for complex interactions, I think that's something we can do.
So most of the PR is creating some kind of version of the global instance that can be manipulated for tests.
I'm not quite sure what he wants to do, but that might be one of the things, yes.
Okay, I'll spend some time having a look anyway this weekend.
Okay, then you have another topic?
Yeah, only that I would just like to see what the issues are for the feature freeze, because at least the last week I've just been going through issues and trying to find any ones that are to do with UI and usability and concentrating on those. So if there's any UI stuff for the feature freeze, I'd like to concentrate on those. Once that's done, then I want to go back to the Avalonia and finish off the issue that I was working on that Daniel brought up with the OSX menu and the quitting thing. But I'd like to try and concentrate on UI issues that are keeping us in feature freeze before I get back to that.
I don't have in mind anything except the GTK thing, but maybe that's an Avalonia thing. Maybe that has to be fixed in Avalonia. Max,
the file dialog thing that we were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna I'll have a conversation with Nikita later because I know he started work on something like that, and I'll see where he left it, and it may be something that might be nearly ready to use, or I'll find out from him more information.
Max, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to say that you're breaking my heart with even prolongating this feature freeze. It's horrible. But on a serious note, though, one minor thing that I just noticed, that it seems that the .onion hidden service that we have, starting with Wasabi UKRX and ending with DMBAD, does not seem to work. Server not found. So that's just one hiccup. Odd, because I think the last time I checked it, it was working. So, but that's more on a side note. Maybe something, because I think I heard that Dan is about to leave. Maybe something to bring up beforehand would be the question if we should allow for the deletion of wallets. A user requested to have this ability to have a cold card watch-only wallet where the public keys are only on the laptop for the duration that he is actually using this. And then as soon as he's done with sending or broadcasting that PSBT, to then delete the wallet so that nothing is left on the laptop. So even the sensitive public keys cannot be leaked. So that is kind of his design or his rationale or feature request for having the ability to permanently delete wallets. Now, in the case here with Cold Card, that would not be a security issue because it's just the public keys, right? It's just a skeleton watch-only file. But if we would allow the ability to actually delete wallets in general, that would mean deleting private keys, which I'm not really comfortable with this at all. Because this means even if someone sends in the future money to one of these public keys, these funds are unspendable. And of course, you don't know today if someone will send you money in the future. So I'm not really that comfortable with deleting private key wallets. And then in the issue that I opened for this, I forgot to mention it, but I think it was Ben the Carman, that we could allow for hiding the wallet in the GUI. So somehow like right click and maybe hide wallet or archive wallet or something so that it's no longer shown in the GUI. And I think that might already be something, because I personally experienced that I, for example, by accident uploaded 2 cold card wallets, and then I had the same watch-only wallet twice in the GUI. And I wanted to delete that, and there was no way of doing this in the GUI itself. Now, of course, what you can do is go into the repositories and in the file system and delete that wallet.json file manually. And of course, that works. And I guess anyone who is advanced enough to want to delete a wallet will know how to find the repositories and these folders. But just to ask for you, what do you all think about allowing the ability to delete a watch-only wallet, or to delete a private key wallet, or to archive/hide these private key wallets?
So one of the things that you said is that the backend onion doesn't work, and I see that, and it's bad. So I will investigate that right after this meeting. What do I think about deleting wallets? I think this is possible, but our architecture is not clean enough because to do a proper job of that, because they have to delete your currently you have to delete your transactions file, you have to delete your blocks, you have to delete your wallet file, your backup wallet file, and who knows what else. And then we change something, some little bit of things in the file paths, and then we are gonna forget it, and then it's not going to be working. And it's not, it's a very low priority thing. We can do so much better things, but I agree in principle that it should be possible. But if someone really wants to delete his wallet, maybe the best thing is he has to go through this manually, because you really have to. It's a dangerous operation. Not sure how much you should encourage it, but anyhow, I think this is a very low priority thing. Even the renaming caused issues, which I don't remember what, but it caused some issues that we fixed in the test. So even that seemingly extremely simple operation, just ruin some other part of the code.
Yes, agreed on both. I don't think it's high priority. And that specific user who wanted to delete the cold card watch only wallet, he has now written a script to do this automatically. I think as soon as he closes Wasabi or something. So, like for advanced users, stuff like this should be possible. And I agree. I don't think it's a priority. But actually, now that you bring up the renaming, I mean, so far we have this, as I think, only for the receiving addresses that have no transactions yet, and that's really good. But I would like to see something similar or the same for the wallets in the wallet manager, because if you, for example, import a cold card skeleton file, it will always say, I think hardware wallet 0 is the default label of a new wallet. And so I guess there are two ways of doing this: either to take the actual file name of the I think .json skeleton file that Coldcard gives you, but even then it just says new -coldcard wallet or something .json. So even that name by default would not be very meaningful. So I think renaming a wallet is as probably even more important than renaming individual addresses, especially because the name that is given by default is completely nonsensical and goes against the entire purpose of labeling and having a good internal accounting system. Now you can easily do this yourself, again in the repositories, by just changing the name of the JSON file in the wallets folder, and you don't even have to touch the backup folder or anything. It worked for me just changing that one file in the wallet folder. And then it is automatically updated and shows the new name in the interface. So this is something I think that would be doable with the same logic as with the renaming, like right-click and then change wallet name or change something wallet title. But I do think this is especially useful for hardware wallets. And
yeah, it seems that simple, but we made the stupid decision that we serialize the transactions and mempool transactions based on the wallet file name. So if you rename your wallet file name, you're gonna lose your mempool transactions. But actually, we are as soon as David gets back and the issues and the pull requests go down or something, we are going to work on that to serialize the transactions in a wallet independent way and the mempool in a wallet independent way, and then we won't have this thing. Now, is it a good idea to also rename the transaction file and the mempool file with the wallet? I don't think so. These things should be separated better first. And this brings expect the exact same issue what we have with all these general wallet feature requests, and very often it's not even a feature request that many people would use. For example, the cold card PSBT workflow. Now that has nothing to do with privacy, and I have no idea why we even started to work on that. That's just such a misdirection of our efforts. This is similar, and you can go very deep with that, because please let's just rename the labels. Okay, let's rename it. Oh, but since we'll rename the labels of the addresses, let's rename the coin list labels too. Okay, but then the label renaming has to notify a bunch of components. Clusters will be fucked up until you restore the wallet. But anyway, we will fix that. Okay, but let's just rename the wallet file. Okay, let's rename the wallet file too. And then it goes very deep of where do you draw the line of implementing general wallet features and refocusing on privacy, which should be the main goal of Wasabi,
Yep, agreed. But just one more sentence about what you just said. I think that especially Coldcard is tailor-made for privacy-cautious users because it's air-gapped and that does not leak XPubs. But previously Coldcard was only usable with Electrum, and this Electrum per default is very not private. And so with Wasabi having BIP 158, we do not leak public keys, and this means that we are in line with this air-gapped, don't share public keys with others. So I would just say that Coldcard and Wasabi is a great fit for privacy-cautious users. And I see that Yahia is heading out, so thanks for all your contributions, and hear you on the next call.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. See you in the next call. See you.
I'll see you. Yeah, I wanted to ask Yahia if he wants to bring up a topic. Oh, well. Dan, do you have another topic maybe?
No, thanks.
Okay, I want to ask something that do you guys think that there is an issue or pull request that I missed in the last few days, because there are many? So do you guys think I should concentrate on something?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so let's go to Lucas then. Lucas, what do you have for us?
Well, I was working on a pull request for, I don't know if you remember, we want to install the udev rules automatically in Linux during the package installation, right? The HWY program is in a zip file. So I had to unzip that file in order to use it first in Linux. But most of the Linux distributions, or for example, the Ubuntu, for example, doesn't have the unzip tool installed by default. So I don't know what to do. We can install the package, I mean the unzip package first, or we can distribute the HWYIN tool in a tar, or
He
I don't know.
has deterministic build, so I think unzipping is the right way to go.
Well, yes, but in order to unzip the file, I have to first install the unzip package. Is that okay for you? Because I don't know if the user wants to have that package in their machines.
I mean, unzip it. You already made the pull request with the binaries changed.
Yeah.
So
yes.
that's. But also, I'm a bit of sidetracking here, but C# has a built-in zipping tool, by the way. Zip tool. It's called zip tool, and it's in the framework.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, I will.
But why do we need that? I'm not sure I understand.
Okay. We have a Debian package, right? Into that Debian package, we have the hardware wallet interface tool. We want to run that tool with the install udev rules command, right? In order to install the udev rules when you install Wasabi. So we have to unzip that tool in order to execute it first. Does it make sense?
Okay. Okay. Why I did not accept your pull request yet? Because I was following the HVI library changes, and I saw that they are messing with the error messages, and they actually added some error codes. So well, first of all, it should be tested on every single hardware wallet that we are supporting.
Yes.
which can be only done at my place, but I will tell Martin, I think, to test all the hardware wallets. Should be fine. But the other thing is that the error messages are it's not gonna be a problem, but kind of bothering me that I'm just catching the messages and not the error codes. And what if they change something and I missed that change, and then our software is not gonna work as it was working before? So the thing is, I think in the updating pull request, the error code changes should go in. That's I think what we need, and then that pull request has to be tested on every single hardware wallet, and then it's ready and we are ready. You understand?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and it makes a lot of sense, of course. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's the first point. And well, I have the other peer request that I want to know why you think it will not be merged. But first of all, I think we are receiving feature requests for too much advanced users. I saw that guy who made a video about Wasabi wallet and Samurai wallet too. And I think many people can be confused about, how to use Wasabi. And I don't know what to do, really. I have a few ideas, but I think we have to continue focusing on easy to use features or something like that, and also in wording and probably adding tooltips. I don't know, something like that. But because if that guy is not good at using programs, it seems. I'm sure many people have the same problem to understand how to use Wasabi. And finally, I know it is not possible to use Wasabi if you don't know how Bitcoin works, or at least what an UTXO is. But probably we have to do something about it.
I agree, and I have very high hopes for the issue that is called Wasabi is not user friendly. because there are a huge amount of great suggestions, and I think when we are deciding to tackling it, we can go through systematically and make Wasabi and improve Wasabi in a huge way for users. Now I wanted to start it after the release, but we have a couple of things. For example, the many pull requests. We can't really control that, who wants to give what kind of pull request, and we have to deal with them. So that's the first priority, of course. The other thing is that we have to update HVI because we have to keep our software up to date. And the other thing is that Avalonia, we have to update Avalonia, and that's going to be a huge work. But in a good sense, because now we are starting to get the hang of their active UI programming. I think we can catch a lot of things and make the software much more responsible as we are refactoring in order to satisfy the needs of the new Avalonia release. And yeah, so I don't know if Avalonia release will come first or the UI thing will come first. I would prefer the Avalonia release to come first. In fact, yeah, I will say that because that's how it makes sense, that first the Avalonia release and then the UI UX issue tackling to make it more user friendly. Now then, do you have any, I don't know, how are you with the Avalonia release? Is it coming, not coming for, or what's the status there?
Yeah, I was actually spoke on Skype with Stephen last night and Nikita as well. We were talking about this. So they don't set any deadlines or anything, but I think there's like a couple of bugs holding it up at the moment. There's a couple of features that need to be finished off. So yeah, it's probably a month away.
You know what? If nothing comes up, leave the GTK, leave the file browser issue if it's not easy. If it takes more than 2 or 3 hours, then just leave it alone and start concentrating on Avalonia and fix up the bugs. Come back to us with the release when okay. You feel like that. But yeah.
Yeah, sure. I know that this next release of Avalonia is going to be a big jump, so it will be nice to get that out of the way and get Wasabi updated. So yeah, okay.
Lucas, were you satisfied with the discussion?
Yes. But I have a question here about one of the pull requests, the fetch blocks from local node only. Yes. I know we want to have a clean integration with the full node that we don't have. But and I agree with that. Yes, I agree with it. Is good. It will be good to have a clean integration with the full node. But my pull request is not about that at all. That's what confused me, because my pull request does two different things. First, lets you know if your Wasabi is fetching blocks from your local node or not, basically. That's one thing. And the other thing that this pull request does is allows you to say, hey, Wasabi, I don't want to fetch blocks from remote nodes. Yes, so if you cannot connect to the local node, well, that's all. Don't connect to remote nodes. And that's implemented with an if statement. One if statement. Yeah. If not, remote nodes are allowed, then do nothing. Basically, that's all.
But again, this is a never-ending rabbit hole. Then people will ask, well, but why am I still connected to peers? Well, you are still connected to peers because you are broadcasting transaction through peers because that's more private. But no, I want to broadcast with my full node. But well, that doesn't make sense from a technical point of view. But well, so many people asking that, let's do that. And then, why am I still connected to peers? It's because you are getting the mempool from those peers. Wait, but I want to get the mempool from my full node. So.
Okay, I got it. But question, can we create a video with the highlights of this meeting with you explaining this in that way?
Oh, sorry, again?
Can we create a video with the meeting highlights when you explain why this, why that, why not this, why do that?
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea. Because we can point people there. Go ahead, Max.
You take away all the fun. Come on.
Yes. No, well, it makes sense, but the problem is that I didn't know that. I didn't know the reason. So I was confused. But yes, now that it's clear. Okay. Okay, I'm done.
So one thing that worries me about these things that we put up to the channel is that we put up Aviv's video about his talk, his stand-up from a letter from a chain analysis guy. That was really funny, but that put the standards so high that if we start putting out videos, those are not I don't know, mate. I don't know. Yeah, I guess, sure.
It's weird that it's the video with the most views right now. That's very concerning to me.
And Max retweeting that tags chain analysis. I mean, Max, what the heck?
What about just an FAQ? Is the network topology of the way your mempool works, what you want coming from your full node, what you don't want to broadcast from your full node, documented in an FAQ or in ZeroLink? Please excuse my ignorance.
I believe it's the case that if you have your own node connected, then your own node is just for querying blocks, right? So there's, in terms of broadcasting transactions, you don't use your own node. You just get a random node that has a Tor port open. And then every time you broadcast a transaction, it's creating a new Tor bridge and opening with a new Bitcoin node. Because it's actually worse for you if you use your own node and you broadcast 5 transactions in a row from your own node, because unless your node is on Tor.
That makes sense. Is it documented though in the FAQ?
No.
I've just checked and I sent a link in the chat. There is a really small in the FAQ, a really small chapter on how to connect your own full node. And it does say though that we still rely on block filters from Wasabi, but I don't see anything about the mempool. So it might be good to, well, maybe elaborate a bit more.
I did. I wrote a whole blog post, and actually I think it was quite funny and very, very informative and thoughtful about the privacy on the network level. I compared Bitcoin Core and Wasabi wallet, so there is a reference Bitcoin Core and how they differ, and I think that's the thing. If you want to if you want to read about this, how do you find it? It's on Medium. No,
I found it. Bitcoin Core versus Wasabi Wallet, network level privacy. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that's exactly this topic. Okay, Lucas, do you have something else?
No, just a comment now that we are talking about this. Remember, time ago I code an integration with Wasabi, a full integration with Wasabi and the local node. And if, well, it was rejected by you, I think it would be good to use it as a lesson learned, right? Because the problem with that integration was, in my opinion, that we wanted to do it too smart. Yes, I mean, if we detect a local node, then we connect to the node. If the local node is not synchronized, then wait for the synchronization, and in the meanwhile, use the remote nodes. If our local node is pruned, then only consume the available blocks from the local node. Otherwise, use the remote. No, it was very.
I was also fetching the blocks from the disk. You remember?
Yes, but going back to my point, yes, I remember that, but and I still don't agree with that. But I think we have to create an integration very simple, probably using the config file. Yes, use local node. Use local node or local node only, or remote, or no. I mean, I don't know how to say, and do something simple. It was very complex to deal with all the logic in my pull request. So that's why you say, well, this is too complex or too hacky, or I don't remember. But I think that's what we can do, something simple.
Yeah, I think there's 3 ways to go about it. One is to fire up the Wasabi backend on the client side, which would ensure forward compatibility. So whenever we implement a feature, we would know that, hey, this is awesome because we have forward compatibility and the Wasabi users are gonna use this. Now the problem with this is that building the filter files just takes a very long time. So the other thing is that we could use Bitcoin RPC, and then we maintain clean connection. That okay, either Bitcoin RPC and or the Wasabi backend. Now the third option is what Nicolas Dorier just opened, is to using Bloom filters, which is, I don't know, maybe it's a, if we want to add something, it gets a bit tricky. For example, fee. How do we get the fee rates? Yeah, we can't really with Bloom filters. What would be good with Bloom filters is that we would only use the peer-to-peer port. So yeah, but what do you think about these 3 approaches?
Yes, well, using Bloom filters is, we know, is the fastest way, and also we already are listening to the transaction from the network, so it shouldn't be difficult to implement. I don't know the first part, the first synchronization. That's the part that I don't know, but the rest, I think, it will be easy. But again, are 2 different mechanisms. I don't know if we want that. We already connect to nodes, to the network. So connecting to the local node is just, it should be trivial. Yes. if
it's
we
not
don't.
because we are relying on multiple connections in many different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's the problem, and waiting for synchronization and all that.
And it doesn't solve the main issue, is the trust issue, that you're still going to believe the filters and not your own full node. And I'm not sure. And even if we would disable believing the filters, then there would be some bug for sure that hey, the Wasabi coordinator lied to you because something differs, because our checks said that, but I'm 100% sure there would be some bugs. So it has to be some very clean implementation.
Yes, I don't know. I don't know. If you don't trust on the filters, you don't use Wasabi. I don't know what to say, because there is no way you can verify the filters, right? So you are trusting now, and you will to continue trusting in the future, because there is no mechanism for verifying the filters. So.
Oh hey, yeah, huh? We wanted to ask you if you have any topic you wanted to bring up, because we didn't have a chance. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I haven't heard you.
Oh, we wanted to ask you if you have any topic left, because you left and didn't have a chance to bring up something you wanted to.
Yes, I made an issue and I asked, like, for example, from a user experience point of view, like, does the user need to see like the type of the exception that we are throwing, or does he only need to see like the message?
No, I just laziness. What should really be done is that, well, first of all, we have to wait for Avalonia release, because in Avalonia we will have notifications inside Wasabi. So now we can move all the error and all the messages, all the warning messages, error messages to a notification. So that's what we are going to do. And then why we write out the error, the type of exceptions, is because we translate the type of the exceptions. Many of them, those are occurring often, but if we miss something, then we don't translate that. So it's I don't know, what would you say, developer laziness or concentrating on different things? But I think, I don't know how much the Avalonia release would change this. Maybe what would matter is that how much you can fit into that notification box. Yeah, I think we should wait for the Avalonia release before we start translating all the exceptions human language. But I'm not married to this idea. Maybe we can go. Lucas, what do you think?
Well, what we did is translating the deceptions in the send tab. For example, if we receive a too long chain, we display an explanation. Yes, the coin that you are trying to spend is part of a very long chain of transaction that cannot be accepted in the mempool, something like that. So, because that makes sense, the internal Bitcoin core node error it's useless for the user. So something similar in this case could be done. Instead of, I don't know, security exception, invalid password, I could display something like your password doesn't match, or your password is not correct, or try again, or something like that. I mean, I could translate the exceptions.
Yeah, just the question is when should would it be more efficient to wait for Avalonia notifications, or does it really matter? We can do it right now.
I think we can do it now. And when Avalonia provided the notifications, well, those errors, instead of displaying the errors where we are displaying it now, well, we can display the same error, but in the notification pop-up window. You're mute.
Okay. So yeah. So we are.
Hello? What's going on?
Yeah. There's another topic to bring up.
Adam, I think
Sorry,
we lost you all.
we can barely hear you.
Adam for a while.
Okay, Adam, we still can't hear you, but I do have a few small things I want to bring up. So with your permission, I'll just start talking about some issues.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so firstly, someone recently asked a good question about remixing being nearly free. So recently I ran some tests and it looks like remixing is no longer nearly free. Lucas made some really amazing, he clarified to me the nature of the costs of remixing coins. But I just want to be very clear here because the way we advertise and what we say to people in public is very important. So previously there was a model where Wasabi was like a buffet, a privacy buffet. You pay once, and if you want to remix, typically it's almost free. So maybe you pay a little bit for transaction fees, but you're not being charged in terms of anonymity set. We could then push people to remix coins and say, listen, you know, you're not paying a lot more, so it really works to your benefit. Currently, users are paying quite a bit to remix, typically as much as like 0.15% or 0.2%. So I just want to be very clear here. Is there a way that we could make remixing cheaper? If the answer is no, then we need to make a firm decision in terms of whether remixing is discounted and by how much, or if we should stop saying that remixing is free. So that's the first point, and I think Lucas or Adam, I think you guys can say something about this.
So the thing about remixing is that Bitcoin fees went up because people coming with the smallest people never paid for anything, and the round denomination is going down too fast. But the round denomination can only go down as fast as the Bitcoin network fees. So your issue is that the round denomination is going down too fast. So now remixers has to pay for remixing. Now, I'm kind of out of ideas how to make the round denomination go down slower. That's the goal, right? To go down slower, so remixers has to pay less. But
Sure.
It's the Bitcoin network fees, you know. I'm not quite sure what to do, to be honest. if there is something to do about it, you know.
So what you're essentially saying is that the denominations goes down, people remix, and then because they don't actually have enough change to merit a UTXO, their change collapses into the fee, and that is the reason why they're still paying these higher fees. Is that correct?
Not sure I understood.
What I'm saying is, imagine if someone mixes a coin and they get 105 millibits, right? Then a week later, the round denomination is 100 millibits, right? It's gone down. They remix the coin. Are they going to pay a lot, or are they going to? So they would get some change. They would get 5 millibits in change, right? And would the amount they pay end up being very small, or would it be also 0.15 or 0.2%?
If they get back change, then they paid exactly as much as how much the coordinator fees are in non-edge cases. So this is the exact thing when you are paying 0.003% per every peers you are mixing with. That's when you get back change.
Okay, so just to clarify, currently there are no discounts for people remixing coins, correct?
No, it's not true. It's the smallest people, the smallest person decides what the denomination is. The smallest person decides what the denomination is. So, and how the denomination changes to the next round is that you are making sure that the smallest person from the first round still has money to get into the mix without because the smallest person has to pay the network fees. We cannot say that, hey, he's so small that, and these people are coming with bigger coins, they can cover the fees, you know. That's, you cannot say that. It's and the network fees get too high, so the rounds go faster, and the denomination is going down faster. Yeah, and I have no good idea what to do about this, because this is not gonna get better anytime soon.
Okay. But so I'm just going to ask my question just one more time, just to be very, very clear here. Excluding edge cases, if you mix a coin and you get 0.105 output, and then a week later you decide, I'm going to remix the mixed coin, and now the denomination of that round is 0.1, exactly 0.1. What is the expectation in terms of how much fees that user will pay? Is it the same as everyone else, or is it substantially less because they are remixing and so they have a discount?
It depends on what should be the fee. So if the fee should be 5 Bitcoin and the user puts in, okay, let's say we have a 10 Bitcoin round, 10 Bitcoin base denomination, that's what we start up with. And the user comes with 11 Bitcoin and the network fees are 3 Bitcoin. No, and the coordinator fees are 3 Bitcoin, but the network fees are 2 Bitcoin, then he's going to pay only, no, fuck, sorry. Every user always have to pay the network fees. That's something that they cannot get away with. They don't always have to pay the coordinator fees. When they don't have enough, then they pay as much as they have. That's the idea. Now, because they have to pay the network fees, the round denomination goes down in order. So the first guy, the smallest, so the active outputs of the first round don't have still be able to register to the next round without paying, without merging two coins together. I'm not sure. Was I clear enough?
It seems like it's still the case that as long as the user has enough change, or it's not an edge case, it does look like there is a discount for people that are remixing coins. But the problem right now is a technical one, where users end up paying what looks like quite a lot to actually remix these coins, because, for example, the change they have from the remix is so small that it's just getting added to the fee. Or, for example, network fees are high, and so high that it's actually appearing as a coordinator fee, but really it's just a network fee that they have to pay. Am I correctly articulating things here?
If someone gets back a change, then he pays the exact coordinator fee plus the network fee. So then that's not an edge case. That's nothing. So if you are getting back a change from remixing, that means the denomination went down so much that you are not perfectly remixing and you pay the exact fee.
Whoa. So wait. This is very strange. So you're saying it no longer counts as a remix if you wait too long? Is that correct?
Can I add something? Because I think there is a confusion somewhere in what Aviv asked. We don't know if you are remixing or not. There is no an if in the code. There is nothing like if this guy is remixing, then no. So you in your first example you say, well, if I mix and get 0.1005 and next week I remix, well, Wasabi doesn't know you are remixing because we are not tracking you, right? So it's all about play with the numbers, right? With the values and the amount. In order to participate in a CoinJoin, you have to have enough for the base denomination that is in that moment, yes, and paying network fees for your inputs, yes, and the output value I don't remember, but I think the output values are discovered depending on how much money the different participants are.
Lucas,
yes.
This changes a lot of things. I'm worried that people are. Its conversation is quite long. I would like to continue the conversation, but just you and I, because it looks like a lot of people are here. Because I feel like this conversation is going to be not a short one, and I really need to answer these questions, but just want to make sure that it's not infringing on anyone else's time. Is there anyone else that wants to talk?
You know, actually, something that I was thinking about in the same context, we have to pick up an example that you mentioned earlier. So if the user has 0.10 or 0.15, for example, that is the first round, and he gets, let's say, 100 anonymity set with this equal output of 0.15. And then he waits a week, and he will register that again, but the minimum amount has changed to 0.1, right? Then he gets the 0.1 CoinJoin output with anonymity set 200. Now, that change output of 0.05 is how much anonymity set does that have? Does it still have the 100 anonymity set that?
Yes.
Right. Okay, cool. Because that means now that, well,
I completely agree. I've heard you sort of state this before, and it's a very good point. And arguably, we could have a UX feature that allows users, if they're patient enough to get smaller denomination outputs. But this isn't my immediate primary concern because I think it's sort of a weird, hacky, kind of unknown thing. I'm really concerned about the claim about free remixing, or at least cheap remixing, which is going to be a very long conversation because.
Well, I think we can agree on that we should not say that remixing is free. It's not true anymore, and let's not get used to it. It's just not true anymore with these network conditions. It might be true in the future. It was true in the past, but remixing is not free today. So I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, so it actually doesn't matter if it's free or not. The important thing is if it's discounted, in the sense that users who remix are paying less than adjacent users that aren't remixing in the same transaction in terms of the total fees, right? And if it's not discounted,
we don't know that. So we don't know that either.
Well, Aviv, I would say that it's discounted for the quote unquote poorest peer in the group, right? He with the lowest amount of coins, he does not have to pay the full level of coordinator fee. And I would say that most of the time, this smallest user is from a previous round. I don't know if it's actually the case, but I would say there's a strong correlation here. So I think we can say that, quote unquote, the smallest peer does not pay fees, or at least coordinator fees. Although I agree with Nopar that, I don't know, it's like a weird edge case, but it might be discounted, yeah, in that sense.
Yeah, on a separate issue, I want to bring up, I know this call has been long and we've been talking about stability and freezing new updates. Currently, Wasabi wallets that have the unspent or spent coins problem,
you cut out.
Some of them are personally responsible for accidentally registering blinded outputs of addresses that have already been used. Okay. And this is a big problem.
Sorry, Aviv. You cut out. Can you start over?
Yes, absolutely. Recently, there's been a problem where because some Wasabi clients are not accurately displaying the addresses that have been used and addresses that are unused, they are registering in CoinJoins with blinded outputs that are actually outputs from previous transactions. This is causing occasional roughly 1% address reuse. So it's very uncommon, it's very small, but it's still a serious issue that if a Wasabi client is getting uncertainty in terms of which coins are spent and what is the proper balance, then that Wasabi client is more likely to register addresses that have been used once before. This is a pretty serious problem, as it starts to it's pure on-chain de-anonymization that's done by the Wasabi software without the user's sort of knowledge. So this is really double bad. But I just want to make that clear that it's happening, and that stability should be a priority right now, because Wasabi wallets are making this problem. And you can actually see it if you look up some CoinJoins on blockstream.info or other sites. You will notice that there are addresses that have been reused in the past.
Well, we'll see, because we still have spent issues, but I think like 90% of the spent issues are already resolved. So if this is what's causing it, then we should see a lowering of address reuse. Now, what I'm also afraid of, that what's causing this is also like people are mixing with the same wallet file that will never be resolved, because how do you prevent that? You don't. Anyhow, that's always causing this. that can always happen. Now, the issues is I would say the highest priority things. So, and that's what we are suspecting. That's what causing probably most of the cases. Yeah, I agree with you. That's very high priority. It's just very, very difficult.
Okay. Awesome. That's pretty much everything I wanted to bring up. I might be missing a couple of things, but for now, that's fine. And of course, Lucas and I will continue the conversation about thinking about remixing later on. I really think we should strive to make Wasabi a remix-friendly wallet, but we'll talk about that later.
All right. How about Max? You have something?
Thinking about it, but I think we covered a lot. Nothing off the top of my head other than good work on version 1.1.6. Great to have a bunch of new contributors on board as well, and looking forward to making this software even better with every commit.
All right, then thanks, guys. And if someone still have a topic, then scream and be patient with me with the reviews, because I'm not gonna do half job of this just to be faster. So yeah.
I'm so happy to see that this bounty program is inspiring people to do work, because that's just really great. Have you considered, is it for sure you're going to be doing it again next month? Is that for sure, Adam?
No, we are not going to do it in next month. Maybe in later time. It's just we want to evaluate that. Hey, what happened now? Is it good or not? Or yeah.
Adam, sorry. It would be probably a good idea to invite the rest of the contributors. I mean, to Bars Not Wars, and the other guy Ben, that had been doing a great job, in my opinion, with his pull request to the next dev meetings.
Sure. It's anyone can come. It's always been like that. Go ahead and send them messages. Who are you talking about? Who was the second one?
Oh, let me.
Ben the Carman.
Oh yes.
Because Vars Not Wars, and yeah, they both joined the Wasabi Dev Slack just today, but I don't know. Let me check if Ben is in there as well. Yeah, Ben is in the Wasabi Dev Slack as well. So he got the link, but probably we should ping all three of them. Well, Yahib is here, or Yahia is here, but we should ping them next Monday in advance.
Yeah, probably he doesn't know he can participate. Probably.
Yeah, sure. Just don't make it seem like it's compulsory.
But it is.
It's Wars Not Wars, actually. He was working with us on Wasabi for like 3 months, so maybe he will come back. All right, thank you guys. And if no one has any more topics left,
yes, Jaya says thank you all. A small thing I want to ask.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Jaya.
I want to say, for example, when I launch Wasabi and then I close it, and when I launch it, Tor was not launched before. Like, shouldn't it be like good if, for example, we kill the Tor process after we close Wasabi? Because, for example, like usually after I close Wasabi, the Tor process is still running, and I was not using it, and I don't need it like after that.
Yeah, you see, there are some different ways why Wasabi is not closing this, some different reasons, and I think always 3 of them are important. One of them is it just gives you a much better user experience if you close Wasabi and then fire up again and you are corrected already and you don't have to wait for Tor circuit establishment. That's good user experience. The other thing is that it's better from privacy point of view too, because there are some timing attacks that, hey, when were you running Tor computer? If you were running Tor on your computer and this time, and these other people were not running Tor on their computer, then it can be just you, whatever, whistleblowing for WikiLeaks. Anyway, you can imagine it's better from privacy point of view. And actually, there were actually precedent about this. I watched the talk where he was explaining that some university were monitoring people, and then they were able to figure out how that guy was the only one who was using Tor at the time. But anyhow, and the third reason is that the .NET process start, process stop, and these things, these are so legacy that, and these are using threads and all kind of stupid things, and we had to hack on just to properly be able to launch Tor on Linux, for example. And stopping Tor, it's like, it's a very hard challenge to make sure it really stops or not crashes the software on every single platform. That's the third reason. So 1, UX, 2, privacy, 3rd, technical challenges. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, actually, one thing that I still wanted to bring up is that I mentioned that in the Slack. I don't think I opened an issue yet. I've just today installed Debian 10 Buster, and on here it seems that there are that I cannot install .NET Runtime version 2.2 because there are dependency issues, and specifically with the packages lib SSL version 1.0.2 and lib EC or ICU 5.7. I think these are the only 2 dependencies that are missing, and I'll have to look into if I can compile them manually from source or somehow get them on Debian 10. But as of right now, I can install the Debian package, but I cannot install I cannot compile from source because I cannot install .NET. So just FYI, hopefully we'll fix it.
I looked at your tweet, and I actually went on the .NET Core site and saw that they are only supporting the Debian 9, but they are supporting the Debian 9, so you can expect that they will support the Debian 10. Just be more patient, and you will be able to develop there.
I think Debian 10 was released like 2 or 3 days ago, so I'm like they should get it. Hopefully.
Yes, one more quick thing back to the Tor issue, that I believe people should be able to customize it on the settings if they want Wasabi to stop Tor, which, okay, it's your decision. It's not that important from a privacy point of view. It makes your UX a little bit worse, but whatever, it's your decision that Wasabi works that way, and they should be able to control it. Now, what still there is the technical challenge of really stopping Tor. It's I mean, because it's like someone implements it and it works on his system, and then I have to test, and I don't know, 1 hour to fire up all the stupid virtual machines, and 7 will fail. And even then, there are computers my virtual machines don't cover. So there is still the technical challenge. So anyone feel free to try to implement that, and we can try to make it work on every system. In the settings, it could be a checkbox. So yeah, I believe the user should have a choice, ideally, I don't think the Wasabi team should be focusing on that for the exact same reasons why we still couldn't get to work on privacy for a very long time actually, and it's getting frustrating because of the general wallet features. Those have nothing to do with our big picture vision, but yeah, should be able to. All right, then thank you guys for coming today, and I hope to see you next time, next Monday in the same meeting. We had 6 viewers, probably all 6 of them are us viewing, but never mind. It's a hard topic. So yeah, thanks guys, and see you next.
See you. Take care. Bye bye.
See you guys.
Bye bye. Thank you very much.